Middle Age Ind, magnificent kingdom of exalted virtue, also known as one of the most humble nations. Ind is a fabled kingdom of marvelous riches hidden beyond heathen lands, led by righteous kings of unequaled piety. Rumors of the kingdom have attracted the attention of other lords, but even the most ambitious expeditions have yet failed to find magnificent Ind. Ind is a theocratic empire with subservient heathen petty kings and tribes of wild men. Only Ind itself is a bastion of piety and marvelous riches. Every important official in Ind is also a priest, bishop, or archbishop, and every noble is a king. In the lands of Ind, every mansion is a palace and every building a temple. The armies are righteous and every soldier fulfills a sacred task. But it is not the soldiers of the land that wage the wars of Ind. Instead, it is the subservient tribes of heathens, flesh-eaters, and cynocephalian that the righteous Prestor kings unleash upon the enemies of the true Lord. Ind is hidden by the will of the awakening God. So we've already had a preview of a national feature. Our domain, it hides our dominion, so you do not get to just see the flags where Ind is. It is hidden until you are right up against it. This is not a bonus in single player, as the AI will just attack you anyways. In multiplayer, maybe it has some use, but I think people are going to use that as an excuse to accidentally, quote unquote, attack you. So not the greatest bonus. Maybe if they don't have a scout on a throne, maybe they don't notice that you've taken one. That's about the only use case I really see for that type of mechanic. For national features themselves, we are humans and strange tribesmen. We prefer a heat skill of +1. Our military is made up of sacred human infantry, cannibal warriors, cynocephalians, and subservient kingdoms. For magic, we are strong in astral, earth, fire, blood, and we have a bit of water, nature, and death. Our priests are powerful. All commanders are priests. That is not quite true, we'll see. Only high-ranking priests can become prophets. Every temple adds 1 to the sacred recruit limit. Normally, you get 1 per domain strength. Instead, for us, every temple gives us that recruitment. We still max out at 10, unfortunately. Dominion, we have a conflict bonus of -2. Our dominion hides province ownership. We spoke about that a second ago. Conflict bonus is when 2 candles push up against each other, there's a roll that happens, and we get a -2 to that. So we are actually more likely to have our dominion pushed back unless it is overwhelmingly powerful. For scales and blesses, we get a turmoil limit of +1, a heat limit of +1, a magic limit of +1, and we gain 2 bonus bless points. Overall, a lot going on there. Always good to see bonus bless points. You know you're going to have fun designing a bless when you see that. For buildings, we use standard forts. Our starting capital is a fortified city instead of a castle. Our temples only cost 300 gold, which is great because we're going to need to spam those out. Overall, quite a lot going on here. Pretty interesting. I think we're going to enjoy this one. For sites, we actually have 4 on this nation. We have the Sublime Palace. This allows recruitment of our Primate King, the Bakelite. We get a Astral Pearl, a Fire Gem, and order cannot be lower than 3. This is only in our capital. Next up, we have the Great Mirror. This allows us to recruit the Abbot Magus Supreme, the Abbess Magus. It allows an Astral Mage to enter and scry within range 3. It enables recruitment of the Mirror Guard and gives us another Astral Pearl. Next, we have the Onyx Court. This allows recruitment of the Archbishop Marshal, the Bishop General, the Soldier Priest, the Archer Priest. We can enter for combat training of 4 XP, and we produce 1 Earth Gem. Finally, we have the Fountain of Youth. This produces a Water Gem. It slows down the aging by 50% and decreases unrest by 5. So we have a lot going on here with our sites, a lot of little mechanics. How many of these actually are relevant? I don't know, but this is kind of cool. I like the idea of the free scrying. The slow aging could be useful for some of our older guys. Free combat XP. Just all kinds of things going on here. Units and sacreds. Okay, builders, strap in. This is going to be an ordeal. You'll see why. It looks very simple. Only have 4 units. These are cap-only sacred units. Do note they are sacreds, thus they are capped by your sacred recruitment limit. This is where that combination of temples giving us an extra sacred recruitment point is very valuable. You're going to want to try to get yourself up to 10 sacred recruitment points as fast as possible, because otherwise you are not going to be recruiting much. First up, we have an archer priest, cap-only sacred. This is a sacred short bow that is armored with linen cuirass and a leather cap. Not overly impressive. The main thing to note here is that this is a sacred archer. Do I think this is a good sacred archer? No. Just no. Not much else to say about that. But perhaps when you design your bless, you could have some sort of weapon bless that would apply to your melee troops and to your archers. But even that being said, if you're choosing to recruit these, that means you're not choosing to recruit one of your other cap-only sacreds. I think these are short-ended by quite a bit by the other choices. Next up, we have the soldier priest, cap-only sacred. This is a pretty mid-human sacred. We have human stats. Our defense is decent. Protection is 14. We are wearing a scale mail hauberk, a half helmet, and we have a shield. We wield a broadsword, which we are pretty good with. But all that being said, this is a human sacred. There's not a lot of special going on here. Decent morale, slightly higher than human magic resist, I suppose is okay. This is very usable, but not particularly exciting other than the numbers that we're hopefully going to be able to get out. Next up, we have 2 more specialized units. We have the Mirror Guard. It should be noted these are limited recruitment, 3 per turn. So you could get 3 of these, and then whatever amount of sacred recruitment points you have left over, you'd have to pick something else. These are slightly heavier than the previous unit. We have full scale mail, a half helmet, and a shield, so our protection is 15. We are better with the broadsword. We're actually a little bit higher trained by quite a lot. 12 HP, 11 strength, 12 attack, so we're better than a normal human chassis. Our magic resistance went up, our morale went up. This is our elite, more heavy troop. Problem being, we can only get 3 per turn. I would say if you can afford it, you're probably going to want to get those 3. They are just better than the previous unit, but they're still very limited, and they still are essentially a human sacred. Finally, we have the Bakelite. This is a pretty interesting one. Again, it's limited to 3 per turn. It has a standard effect that gives other units in its group a +1 to morale. It has a Bacillus as their weapon. This is a pretty cool weapon. So it's a length 3, and he's pretty decent with it. It's a magic weapon that's 2-handed, and it has extra effect, Bane of Heresy. Bane of Heresy gives 15 fatigue damage that is armor piercing, and it only affects gods and sacred units. Area of effect 1. I would say you probably get a very small number of these, maybe like 1 per turn, maybe 1 per 2 turns for the standard effect more than anything else. But if you are fighting somebody else and you could get a group of these to connect with their sacreds or their god, you could knock somebody down pretty quickly with that Bane of Heresy effect. Big scary god, you could just put him into sleepy time, and well, he's probably not waking up once he goes to sleep with these guys around. Overall, interesting. Use is very specific. So generally speaking, in the early game, I'm going to want mirror guards, 3 per turn, and then I'm going to use up the rest of my recruitment on soldier priests. But remember, our leaders are all sacred too, so you're going to have to budget for that in addition. Why was I mentioning before we started this, we got a lot to go? Outside of our capital, wherever we build a fort, we have various wild tribes that we rule over, and we will get those units as our recruits. So these are cap-only sacreds, not what we're going to be getting elsewhere. Now, unfortunately, this is base game UI. I can't click on this to show you anything. So we're going to have to go into some of my test games to look at those units. First up, let's do it this way. The terrain that you have is going to determine what units you get. So, Little Horn Men of Picone or the Lady Knights of Great Femine are available for recruitment on a fort that's built in a plain or farmland province. as well as mountains. I don't believe there's a way to tell what you're going to get until you build the fort, which is a little sad because some of these units are much better than others. We get the Great Oriande and their half-men slaves in forest. We get Cynocephalians built in caves or highlands, as well as some mountains. And we get Giants of the Lost Tribe if we build in a wasteland. Okay, let's now look at those units. Over here, we are in plains, and I got the Piccone units. First up, we have the, unit. Sorry, you'll have to wait on that one. We have the Piccone Spearmen. The Piccone Spearmen is not good. Gold 7, 14 resources, 11 recruitment points. So already kind of a pricey human chassis, but we're not humans. We are Piccone. We are size 2. Normally, that's kind of a good thing, but in this case, we are so weak that our spears are not going to be able to damage things in middle age. For me, the ideal amount of damage for a generic unit is 16 in middle age, so that they can actually damage line troops. 9 is going to greatly struggle to hurt those type of troops. On the better side, they do have 14 protection, which is 16 head, 14 body, because they are armored with a plate cuirass, an iron cap, and a shield. All that being said, though, I don't like these guys. They just cannot do enough damage. Second unit is the Piccone Soldier. Here, this is actually slightly better. Why are they slightly better? The short sword here gives them 12 attack and 11 damage, which is slashing or piercing. Still not good, but that's 2 up from the spear. Also in middle age, less people are running around with spears, so you're less likely to get repelled. And I think that just the overwhelming, because you can have 5 of these in a square, makes them okay. Not good, okay. Do note they also have very low combat speed. They are not going to transverse across the field quickly. They are not going to be attacking first in melee combat. They have really slow map move. I don't particularly like these units. If I have a fort that can build them and I need troops, yeah, I got to build them. Unless you get a better indie. So, not too in love with the Piccone troops. Next up, we have something much better. In the forests, we get the Oriande troops. These are probably some of our best. First up, we have the Oriande crossbow. This is a good crossbow. 10 gold, 15 resources, 9 recruitment. That does put them on kind of the more expensive end of crossbows, but their gear justifies it in this case. They have a dagger and a standard crossbow. Remember, crossbows give you an extra 2 precision. These ones fire once every 2 rounds for 8 piercing damage. That is armor piercing. Remember, armor piercing halves the protection, and then piercing takes 15% off of that. So somebody with, let's say, 20 would go down to 10, then they would go down to 8.5, rounded up to 9. So 9 protection down from 20, giving you a pretty decent chance to actually wound somebody. And with that extra precision, you're relatively likely to be able to hit things. Armor-wise, we're wearing a chainmail cuirass and an iron cap. This is actually probably the sweet spot for armored crossbows, I would say. This makes short bows relatively ineffective at actually killing you, and it's not so heavy that it's overkill in most circumstances. Finally, dagger, they're okay with it. Ideally, you're not having to use that, but if some flyers land on you or something, you can try to take care of yourself. Next up, we have the Oriande Warrior. This is a heavy infantry, or maybe a medium, depending on how you want to call it here. 10 gold, 20 resources, 9 recruitment points. These boyos come in with a broadsword, a chainmail cuirass, a half helmet, and a kite shield. Kite shields are really nice. High parry, good amounts of protection. So that's tankier than it may otherwise look. They are humans with human stats, good morale on their training. I think these are one of your options for just mainline combat troops. Do note they are a little bit slow on combat speed, still 50% faster than the Piccone troops, and our map move is up to 12, but we're not going to be zipping around with these guys, to be sure. Overall, very usable unit. Also, remember, we have to have our fort built in a forest to get these, so your fort is likely to have at least some resources to be able to recruit them. Next up, we have the Oriande Knight. This is a decent, heavy, well, medium cav, let's say again. We have a lance and a broadsword. We are the same dude, but now we're on a horse. So we have the chainmail cuirass, the half helmet, and the kite shield. And we are riding a destrier, which is a horse with plate barding. Good barding here. 18 on the body, 21 on the head. We like that quite a bit. The hoof attack, it's actually pretty good at it. This is good enough to actually be able to hurt things in combat if they don't get repelled. HP is also relatively decent. For the knight himself, he's totally fine. I think these are very usable if you'd like to get some cavalry out. Good lance hit. Once their lance is gone, they have a good weapon and decent amounts of protection. Pretty nice. Next up, we also have a satyr slave. 7 gold, 3 resources, 4 recruitment points. Makes them very cheap. As a slave, they have basically no upkeep. 2 gold per year if you survive that long. These are the satyr chassis, so they're slightly better than normal humans. Unfortunately, as slaves, they're not well trained, so their attack leaves a lot to be desired. But as just kind of some chaff units, these aren't terrible. They're stealthy, they have forest survival, they have recuperation, they are undisciplined, and of course, slave. So you're going to want to lead these guys with somebody who can give them some extra morale. But if you wanted to catch lance hits or just swarm in from the sides of a combat, or maybe you found a stealthy leader that could sneak them around to do some raiding or something, it's a usable unit. Bronze Spear and Furs isn't going to do much, so don't count on these guys to be winning grindy type of combat. Next up, we have a Centaur Slave. This is a centaur with a longbow. Longbows are not my favorite, but they hold up okay. They do have the benefit of outranging crossbows. Crossbows are range 40, these are 45. So you could have these guys try to target crossbows, where sometimes short bows have to move so close that they get stuck in melee. These guys might be able to bombard enemy crossbows. They are stealthy, they have forest survival, recuperation, and are slaves. Again, only 8 gold per year. Upkeep is dirt cheap. Little pricey to recruit, I would say, but not terrible. If you need them, I think they can fulfill their role. No armor means they will lose archery duels with other archers, but I think the only time I'm really wanting to get these is if either I'm running fire arrows, maybe, or I need to counter battery some crossbows. Finally, we have the Centaur Charioteer. Not a very good chariot, and it comes down to not having enough armor on the Centaur. He does at least have a shield, reinforced leather cap, and Centaur barding, so he's not completely helpless, but all that adds up to is 11 on the head, 9 on the body. I think these are okay if you have a specific use in mind. Having some chariots is a nice, that means we have access to a trampler that has recuperation. They have an archer, and they have a spearman in the back, so they're not, like, helpless. I think they're interesting. I just have never really had great use for them. I suppose if you think you could flank in and trample archers would probably be my biggest, or just leadership in general, be my biggest use case for these guys. Okay, hold on, builders. We got to go to another world, because in this game, I was getting 2v1 by Nabaw and Vanheim from turn 3, so I could not expand out to the other terrain types before this test was concluded. So hang tight, we'll look at another game here. All right, through the magic of YouTube, we are now in a new game here. Looking at our other types, we have in Wastelands, the Giant of the Lost Tribe. Man, these are so frustrating. 50 gold, 50 resources, 27 recruitment points. 50 HP, 21 strength. You're saying, oh my goodness, how good is this? They have fire resistance. They're well armored. They have a magic sword. They do have Fear of the Flood. That's not great. They have Wasteland Survival, which is good because you have to recruit them in Wastelands. They are gluttons, so they are going to eat a ton of food. But here's the killer. Homesickness 30. That means every turn they are not in their recruited province, they lose 30% of their HP. So you're losing 15 max HP per round that they are outside of their their recruitment point. Realistically, that means maybe you could attack one out and then go home and heal up. Maybe. Very unfortunate. These guys would be so cool. I wish they would drop that down to like 10 or 5 and then give them a limited recruitment. Like make limited like 3 or 5 or something. And then they would actually be usable. You could go out for a couple turns, do some fighting, and then come back and heal. As it is, unless I get a throne on a wasteland, these guys are basically unusable. That makes me very, very sad because they're so cool. Look at those puppy pants. You can't tell me that's not cool. Finally, we have probably, oh no, not finally, second to last, we have our Cynocephalians. These are our doggo boys, and they are mad but good boys. First up, we have the hunter version. This guy has a short bow, a dagger, and a bite. He is armored in furs. They have much better than human stats. For 24 gold, 5 resources, 10 recruitment points, these ones are pretty pricey for what you're getting, in my opinion. They have Berserk +2, Wasteland Survival, Mountain Survival. They can pillage. They are animals. They have dark vision. They are undisciplined, and they cause unrest. I'm not in love with this one. I think we have better options, but it is a short bow that can defend itself, and it goes berserk, which can be useful in certain circumstances. Next up, we have the Cynocephalian Flesh Eater. This is a much better one, in my opinion. We are now armored in a linen cuirass, not a very particularly good piece of armor. 28 gold, 5 resources, 13 recruitment points. Again, much better than human stats. We have a spear, a bite, and a javelin. I think this is much better. They actually are strong enough that their javelins are all right at possibly getting a kill. They have Berserk +2 and the same traits otherwise. These are all right. I think for these guys, probably setting them on the flanks of your army, if you're going to use them, should allow them to throw some javelins and then get in there and get some stabs and some bites as they go berserk. Next up, we have the Gog Reaver. The Gog Reaver is pretty darn good. I like this guy. Unfortunately, they're very expensive. 35 gold for a undisciplined troop is kind of iffy, but 14 resources, 14 recruitment. What do you get? Broadsword, hatchet, bite. We are dual wielding and we have a bite on a berserking +4 troop. He is armored with a scale mail cuirass, which gives him 10 protection. I like these a lot. Again, I'm so sad that these are undisciplined. I wish they weren't. Some hold and attack rear or some other scripted shenanigans would make these guys absolutely incredible. As they are, though, this is a pretty good damage dealing unit. If you could get them an attack buff or strength buff, you could really make them into blenders. You will be very happy with the outcome of that. Next up, we have the Magog Flesh Hunter. 30 gold, 5 resources, 14 recruitment points. We are dual wielding daggers, and we have a bite, and we have a short bow armored in furs. I don't like these ones as much. Berserk +3, otherwise basically the same thing. They are stealthy, but if you're going to go for a DPS recruit from these types, I think it's the Gog Reaver, not the Magog Flesh Hunter. These guys are just so good as damage dealers if you can get them to connect decently and have the damage from the enemy going into something else, ideally. Okay, for real this time, our final recruit. Oh no, it's in the other game. Okay, hang on, builders. Okay, for realsies this time, our final set are the set of feminine recruits. This starts with the Lady Archer. She has 10 gold, 6 resources, 9 recruitment for her cost. Not bad. That's an okay cost for a short bow. Has a leather cuirass and an iron cap. If you want short bows for counter battering, I think these are all right. Nothing to write home about here, though. Decent morale, I suppose. Next up, we have the Lady Warrior. 12 gold, 26 resources, 14 recruitment points. She is actually more armored than the Oriande troops, so this is your premier line troop. 15 protection, which is actually 14 on the body, 18 on the head, with that nice kite shield. Pretty good here. Good with the broadsword, does that magic 16 damage. Plate cuirass, half helmet, and the kite shield keep her pretty safe. Not really breaking the bank, although getting the resources is a little bit difficult, I would say. Next, we have the Lady Knight. 45 gold, 54 resources, 41 recruitment points. Lance, broadsword, same gear as the previous one. These are your heaviest of your knights and very usable. Horse is the same as what we looked at previously. She is just wearing ever so slightly heavier armor. I think if you want to use knights, these are totally fine and usable. I think they're close enough between the two. Whatever you can get is totally usable. Remember, these are based on the terrain where you built the fort. And for the Femin one especially, it's a random, from what I can tell, it's random whether you get these or Picone, or if it's in the Highlands, the Sinophiles. So I don't know. That's just a little rough that you can't focus to try to get these, because I definitely prefer these over the Picone for sure. Overall, that's a lot of different units, which does give us a lot of versatility. But again, you are limited by where you can get forts down. So you need to be very aggressive towards places that have what you want, and then you have to hope that you get what you want if it's in an area that could be multiple things. I would say in general, this is a pretty robust middle-age lineup. Not the best, for sure. Definitely not the worst, for sure. Having armored knights with kite shields and broadswords is kind of like, it's not yet the standard of the age. That's going to be late age, but this is the proto-late age kind of standard armaments, I would say. We have medium to heavy knights. We have medium to heavy troops. We have crossbows. We have some counter battery options with short bows or long bows. We have some chariots, if that is useful. And we have some other specialist troops. Overall, a fun roster that's going to be quite varied just based on what you can get. It's kind of a kitchen sink roster overall, I would say. Heroes, Commanders, and Prophet. For heroes, we have two. We have the Archpope. Archpope comes in with Fire 1, Water 1, Earth 1, Astral 3, Nature 1. He is priest level 4, 24 research, Fortune Teller 25, and he's an adept researcher plus 5. Pretty cool dude. I would love to make him my prophet because that would give us priest level 5. 4 gives us fanaticism, which is battlefield-wide sermon of courage. 5 gives us, I always forget the name of it. The spell is a battlefield-wide priest level buff. And when we look at our other commanders, you'll see why that would be so good on this nation, upping other priests by 1 level. Second, we have the Proto-Pope. This is a priest level 4, even better for our prophet target. He is poison resistant, and he has Lord over heathen tribes. This is an ability we have on another commander. Essentially, we can muster other random troops outside of our fort. So it's kind of like capturing slaves, but they're better than slave units for the most part. Let's actually back out of here and take a look at a couple of those units. So, for example, in this province here, I am getting these like wildman archers. Not particularly the best thing ever, I would say, for these, but I'm also getting these horsemen. They have a light lance and a composite bow. That's decent. Unfortunately, they're undisciplined. I really wish these were disciplined. They would be so much better. But you can get other things based on where you're doing the recruitment, I believe. I don't think it's always, yeah. These are spear and javelin wildmen. I think those are frankly better than the short bows. Yeah, so other troops you can get. These are less reliable, but I think you definitely would want to do that because you can essentially get very cheap chaff units out. And you can just mobilize heathens to get those recruited in. Pretty decent, I would say. For commander lineup, we have a bit of a weird lineup. We have an Abbot Sage. Abbot Sages are Astral 1, Priest level 2. They have Fortune Teller 5 and Adept Researcher 2. So a little weird here. 150 gold, 2 recruitment points. They are 60 gold upkeep per year for 9 research. So pretty efficient, I would say. That's helped out by being sacred, so they're having their upkeep and having Adept Researcher. Combine that with Fortune Teller is kind of nice, since this is going to be our main researcher. This is the only of our commanders that we can reliably recruit in other places. I don't have a lab there. So Abbot Sage is here. If we look over at my Femine recruitment location, he's there. Everything else that we can recruit does not, unfortunately, they're cap onlys. We have the Bishop General. Bishop General is a pretty decent leader, 160 gold, 15 resources, 2 recruitment points. He comes in at priest level 2 and sacred. 100 leadership's fine. His gear is not actually very good. He has a crown set of a full helmet and no shield. I would like to get shields for my commanders, if at all possible, just to not take a stray bolt or something and get killed. This is also a good point. Normally, I'd be like, hey, we're going to use lots of sacreds. It's a priest level 2 leader. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It doesn't say this anywhere, but at least anywhere I could find. As Ind, we auto bless. Let me say that again. We auto bless. So you don't actually need priests to bless all of your sacreds or your other mages or anything. So this basically means he becomes a Sermon of Courage bot or helps banish undead. That's a pretty good place to be in Middle Age with all the other nasty undead units that are around. So he's totally fine. It's just kind of a weirdity that he kind of loses out on one of his roles because of the auto blessing. Next up, we have the Archbishop Marshal. He is, again, priest level 2. He goes up to 150 leadership, so that's a +2 for up to 4 squads. Unfortunately, he's old age. I don't love that. I don't really love that. I don't know if we need the 150 leadership, especially chancing an old guy. Yeah, he's fine. He's whatever. I think I'd use the other guy. He's cheaper. He's cheaper by a good hair, too. Next up, we have the Primate King. 300 gold, 20 resources, slow to recruit, cap only. He does come in with Astral 1, priest level 3, and a random of Fire, Water, Earth, Nature. I actually like these guys quite a bit. Again, ironically, normally I'd be all over that priest level 3 because that would mean I could do our battlefield-wide bless, but we auto bless. He is a little susceptible to getting sniped out with a magic duel, so if you are worried about that, make sure you bring some other astrals with him to lower those odds. And his pathing here is decent. Anything except for fire, I'd say, is nice, especially the earth or the nature, because you can bless yourself with some extra protection and whatever other little buffs, and then you're going to spam your smite spell. So this is a nation that your smite spell is relatively important on. We have lots of access to holy or priest level 3s. If you want that better leadership, I think this is the guy to do it on. The 150 here, Sermons of Courage easily, can do some buffs and then throw out smite. I like this guy a lot. A little pricey, but otherwise he's fine. Next up, we have the Abbot Magus. This is our standard battle mage. Unfortunately, do note, cap only. So far, we only have an Astral 1 outside of our capital reliably. Abbot Magus comes in at Fire 1, Earth 1, Astral 2, Priest 2. Unfortunately, they are old age. They are Fortune Teller 10s, and they have Adept Researcher 2. 134 gold per year for 15 research is fine. If you can afford it, I do like these over the other ones in your capital, just because they are faster, if a bit less efficient at researching. And then you're going to have these guys go out to war. And they're going to go fight, not sit around in your capital and research forever. So these guys are okay. They do have that Bacillus weapon, although you pray you never have to use that. They're fine. They're fine. Not very well armored, of course, but they're a mage, so no surprise there. Next up, we have the Abbot Magus Supreme. This is a slow to recruit mage. 470 gold is not cheap, so be aware of that. He comes in with Fire 1, Earth 1, Astral 3, Priest level 2, and a random 100% Fire, Water, Earth, Nature, and an extra 10% of the same plus Astral. So generally speaking, you could get up to, let's be realistic, you could have a Fire 2, you could have an Earth 2, you could have Water mixed in there. So a lot of little cross-path things, Magma spells, Rust spells, all are possible. We're guaranteed to come in at Astral 3. So you could do some of the bigger astral stuff. Light of the Northern Star comes to mind. Would help our sages turn into mind blasters, which would be pretty useful. He's all right. You're gonna definitely want to get a couple of these out to do some site searching. They're slow to recruit cap only though, so you're never gonna get that many of them. I don't think you want them sitting around and researching, even though the research is 21 for 188, just because they're gonna be so rare. This is gonna be a combat mage, I think, for the most part. Next up, we have the non-fort province recruits. First up, we have the Cannibal Warlord. He is a better than human and quite a bit better than human chassis. 50 leadership is not great, but he's going to be leading troops at probably Berserk. He himself is wielding a battle axe and has javelins, wearing reinforced leather cap and a leather hauberk. Has wasteland survival, mountain survival, pillage 2, and causes unrest. These guys are all right. That's actually kind of a spooky little chassis for a non-cap recruit. I think you'd be fine to get a few of these guys just to even just go into battle and hit stuff with that battle axe. 14 attack for 24 slashing is pretty darn nice, actually. Next up, we have the Bishop Vicomte. This is a non-fort guy. Do note you are going to need a temple to recruit them. They have 100 leadership, 160 gold, 2 recruitment points. Now remember, non-fort, so this is slow to recruit. Priest level 2, tax collector. Tax collector means you can get the money from a province even if it's not connected to a fort, which is normally the requirement to collect taxes. They reduce unrest by 1, and they have that lord over heathen tribes ability, so they can rally up some of the barbarians to fight for you. Next up, we have the Viceroy Primate. Priest level 3, 4 recruitment points at a non-fort recruit means he is very slow. Every 4 turns you can get one of these, but that's not terrible. You're going to spam out temples anyways. We don't have the best access to mages, so this guy could just be a smite bot and he would still be okay. He has the tax collector. He reduces unrest by 3.0, and he has lord over heathen tribe 7. Finally, we have the Cannibal Shaman Chief. This is a blood 1, random 100% of astral, death, nature, blood. So you could actually recruit in a quarter of the time blood mage 2s. So we're actually kind of surprisingly a bit of a blood nation. That's pretty interesting. He is not a good researcher. He does have wasteland survival, mountain survival, forest survival, pillager, spirit sight. He is a heretic. Remember, heretic works the opposite of preaching. So this is going to try to reduce a candle by 1 wherever he's at. And he causes unrest. I think if you want to break into blood in a significant way, these guys are okay, although we actually have a sneaky better option. Let's look at that sneaky better option. These guys I actually got from the Mobilize Heathen ability. And if you look at him here, Nature 1, Blood 2. That's a pretty solid blood hunter. He costs me 96 gold upkeep per year. That's not terrible. That's really not terrible. Yeah, he is a heathen. He does cause a bunch of unrest. That's going to be painful to deal with. You're probably going to actually need patrollers at some point if you are going to do the blood hunt heathen thing, but that's pretty solid. That mean right away I see, blood 2's good for searching. Armor of Twisted Thorns with some boosting we could craft. A Blood Fecundity we could actually cast. These guys are pretty nice, and especially for something that I just randomly got for mobilizing heathens, I'm pretty darn happy with those guys. I have 2 of them here. And I haven't done that much mobilizing, so they're not super rare. So pretty darn happy with that. Next up, let's look at the Picone. We get 2. We have the Picone King. 65 gold, 13 resources, 1 recruitment point. He is wearing relatively heavy gear, but a crown. He has Gluttony 1 and Inspirational +1, but no formations, unfortunately. We also have the Picone Scholar. This is a very sad unit. I really wish he was Astral instead. He is Earth 1. He's not even very efficient. 88 gold per year for 11 research isn't the best. And this is actually inflated because I have magic here. So not the best researchers. Earth 1, I'm not impressed with Earth 1. In a pinch, I suppose you could give him an Earth Gem, use that to cast summon Earth power, and now you're up to Earth 2, but Earth 3 is really the sweet spot for Earth spells, so a little disappointing on him. Next up, we have the Oriande troops in forests. First up, we have the Great Huntress. This bearded lady is actually really interesting. Fire 5, Hold 5, Resist. They are a Beastmaster. They have Dark Vision, Patrol bonus, Forest bonus, Mountain Survival, Stealthy, Summon Allies. They actually can summon in Forest Lions, weirdly enough. They have a Net, a Spear, and a Javelin. These, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on these. I find them very interesting. We can see here I've recruited in one of her lions. There's actually 4 different types. There's red, black, green, and blue lions. Each ones have slightly different stats. I think these are actually good enough. I think they're good enough, and they're no upkeep, that if I got the chance, I had nothing else to do, I might recruit in several Great Huntresses and recruit in lions to maybe be my patrollers. I think that could be interesting. Next up, we have the Oriande King. This is a cavalry unit. Do note he's a taskmaster, so if you're going to use some of those slave troops, this is the best guy to lead those. Otherwise, not much to say about him. He is slow to recruit. He is a little bit pricey, but he's a fine leader, I would say. Next up, we have the Famine. We have the Famine Queen. Pretty decent. Again, inspirational, 100 leadership. Equipped the same as the knights below her. Slow to recruit. A bit pricey, but a totally usable leader. I think she's fine. Next, we have the Famine Sorceress. 205 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. You get Fire 1, Astral 1, and a random of Fire or Astral. So you're looking at Fire 2s or Astral 2s. Both of those are very competent mages. You can Firepower up to Fire 3 and do some pretty good fire stuff. If you get the Astral, you can just straight up Mind Burn or enter into Communion supporting our Magus, because we're going to have the paths that they are likely to use. For a researcher, 164 gold per year for 13 is not very efficient. So these are combat mages, and decent ones. I like mages like this. We are relatively focused. And if we're not going to be focused, I want to be somebody who has Astral so I can support communions. So I'm very happy with these. These are good mages, to be sure. Switch over to our other game here. From Wastelands, we have the King of the Lost Tribe. Man, this makes me so sad. Fire 2 or Earth 2 or Astral 2. My favorite type of mages are those Link 2s. He has the same stats as his troops, including the homesickness. So I think you are, if you do build something where you can recruit these, getting Earth 2 for crafting purposes is kind of nice. But beyond that, they're just not going to see use, which makes me very, very sad. Over at the Doggo area, we have the Cynocephalian Chieftain. This is a 40 leadership berserking leader. I'm not in love with these. They have broadswords and a bite. They are wearing a scale mail cuirass. Next up, we have the Shaman. The Shaman is a nature 1 and a 50% earth, astral, death, or blood. Overall, not particularly in love with that one. They have berserk on them too, so Do note that these are also heretics. Next up, we have the Gog Dog Father. I was totally going to make a meme out of this. Comes in with Blood 1 and a random of Death Nature Blood. So another good source of Blood 2s. And these guys are spooky fighters. I think these guys would actually make really interesting thugs. Give them just a little bit of gear, and I think they would go to town. It's unfortunate Blood's not really a good buffing path for a thug. Ideally, you'd probably get Nature, and he would just give himself Barkskin and go to town. Or Barkskin and then use a gem for personal regen and then go to town. Yeah, I think these guys would be pretty scary for that purpose. Just really, really light army thugs. Next up, we have the Magog Bitch Mother. This is a Death 1, Nature 1, Blood 2 with a random of Death, Nature, Blood. So you can call in Blood Breeze. That's pretty nice. I think you're going to use these as mages, not as thugs or anything, but they will excel at that role pretty darn well. Overall, that's a very wide, interesting lineup with a lot of usable stuff, a couple disappointments. Do remember that we are limited in who we are allowed to make our profit. I think in all cases, we are going to want to pick something that is at least priest level 3 to go up to 4. Ideally, we would have one of our heroes go up to 5. So any of those I think would be fine. We are not even allowed to do anybody else. So you don't really have tons of choices there, unfortunately. As for national items, we have one national item. We have the Salamander Silk Garments at Construction 5. This requires a Fire 1, costs 5 Fire Gems, gives you 2 hit points, magic resistance +1, fire resistance +15, awe +1. Body protection is only 8, however. So generally speaking, I'm not sure I would bother with these. Maybe if you need the fire resistance, you could throw it on some mages. Cool, but I'm just not sure exactly what I would use that for. For magic, we have a decent amount. I think we're going to start, weirdly enough, at blood. In blood, we have Release Lord of Civilization at blood 9. Hard to do, but I mean, if the game went really long, you could call in one of the Grigori. We'll take a peek at them here in a second, but those are really, really powerful, basically super combatant mages. Next up in Conjuration, we have quite a few. We have Call Cyclops Tribe. This brings in just the undisciplined regular Cyclops like you would see in EA Pyrene. These actually are vaguely useful for us if you can summon them in as siege chaff. They are pretty darn strong at sieging. Unfortunately, as unarmored, undisciplined giants, I don't like them, and they're going to use earth gems, which I feel are kind of rare. So I think I'd only call these guys in to build up a bit of a siege group. We also have Herd of Elephants, Pride of Lions, Ambush of Tigers, and Herd of Buffalo. As I always say here, the only one of these I really like is Herd of Buffalo. As Berserking Tramplers, I think that's all right. The Tigers do have a notable for having dark vision. And I suppose here lions are noted that we can actually get some free spawn lions that maybe we can mix in with these guys. But overall, Buffalo win that one for me. At 4, we have Call Malik. We'll look at that in a minute, but that's going to be very similar to kind of some of the giant nation summons. We have Call Birds of Splendor, a very interesting one. We have Call Hashmal, Call Arel, this is a healer unit, Call Ofan, and Call Merkava. Let's take a look at all those different units. First up, we have all the Grigori. I'm not going to go through these one by one. You get 1 for each cast of the spell, and they're all going to be super stupid good combatants. Like this dude's got the first sword, 47 magic damage, dawn armor. He's got 35 invincibility, fear, a bunch of magic paths, and they're all going to be like that. He's probably the best of the bunch, but they're all stupid strong. Lilith is a nature succubi, essentially. Does have dream seduction, does have flying. If you have some nature and can get these in there, I think they're usable. The Ofan is a biblically accurate angel. It is a priest level 3. It is astral. It's a magic being. It's got awe. It's got praise. Praise helps increase the dominion where they're at up to 8 in this case. They are tramplers. They're ethereal. They're inanimate. These are pretty decent. You do have to get pretty high before you could try to summon any of these. We have the Chayant. These are the big summons up at, was it Conjuration 9, I believe. Stupid good, again, just the same as the other ones. They are very high level priests. They have a bunch of magic paths, including magic paths we don't otherwise have access to. I think you'd be very happy to get any of those out. We have the Malik. Maliks are not very useful in my opinion, weirdly enough. 15 invulnerability, but that's kind of it. I suppose if you were going to get these, you're looking to make some light thugs, but I don't think I would waste astral pearls on these when I could spend them on like these other angels. The Hashmal is a ridiculous one again. Invulnerability 20, awe 5. Ethereal has flame strike. Pretty decent, interesting unit here. It is an Inquisitor. That may actually be useful because remember, we have a combat or a conflict penalty to our dominion. So this would help us clear out enemy dominion if it's getting spooky. The Rail, I think, is one of our best summons, and that's simply because she is a healer level 3, and she comes in at nature 3. So we could give her a Thistle Mace to go up to 4, and then she could look at doing things like Howl or Relief or other big nature things for you. We're missing some things here. With the power of YouTube, I will have the bird up. Give me a second. The Birds of Splendor are really interesting. So pretty tough chassis here. Of course, it's flying. Has razor wings, burning beak, and burning claws. A bunch of fire resistance, some shock resistance, fire shield, big awe, big siege bonus, big patrol bonus. In battle, it summons random 3d6 birds. It's unique, so you can only have one of them. I'm not sure exactly what the mechanic is on these guys. I've never summoned these, but down in the flavor text, it says only 2 such birds exist. And should one die, the other one is escorted by birds to plunge into the sea, drowning itself. Then 2 new birds are born from the flaming eggs in their nest. So I'm wondering if these come back automatically. Let me know down in the comments if you know that for sure. Beyond that, we don't have anything super special for magic, but I do want to call out some decent paths. We are strong in astral and fire. That's really our best areas. So conjuration for summon firepower, for power of the spheres, and for light of the northern star are all good. An alteration, alt 3 for body ethereal would be good. In evocation, one we normally don't see very much, astral fires. We're very capable of getting here. We have Fire 1, Astral 3 guarantees. We could easily power the spheres up to cast this, or Communion up, or whatever you want to do there. Astral Fires is really spooky. 45 plus range, area of effect 1, 100% precision, only 20 fatigue, 10 armor negating damage that's difficult to negate with magic resistance, and it gives us a area of effect 6, 10 armor negating magic resistance negates damage. That's really spooky. That's a pretty nasty, like, human-sized troop killer. That is really, really gross. You're almost guaranteed to hit that 1 square for sure, and then pretty likely to kill with the second hit. Beyond that, other things of interest, Astral Geysers is pretty easy for us to do. Magic Duel is optional for us, so we actually could do Magic Duels relatively efficiently, which is kind of scary. Also, Hidden Flame. If you need to kill off magic beings, this is a disgusting spell for doing that. Also in Alteration, we could do Solar Eclipse. If you have an army that's ready for this, Solar Eclipse just gives darkness. Darkness -3. So we have troops that do have some dark vision. So if you're ready for that, that could be a nice little surprise for somebody. In construction, we would be looking at astral boosters. Fire boosters are the main 2. Being able to get jars of fire would help out quite a bit. In enchantment, we are looking at fire stuff mainly. That's going to be our ignite arrows, so flaming arrows, fire shield, fire resistance are all pretty good ones out of here. In thaumaturgy, we're looking at communions. We are looking at the Battle Fury buffs. This is the +2 attack, +2 morale spells. We like those quite a bit. The fire prisons are not terrible, can hold people in place and make them easier for you to hit with your other troops. And finally, in evocation, I just want to call out, we're pretty good at fire stuff mainly. So Flare would be an interesting one. Fire Blast, Fireball. Falling Fires, we are easily able to get up to that with our little communions that we can do. Firestorm would be pretty hard for us to do, so I don't think we're quite ready to do something like that. And the Magma spells. We can do Magma Bolts on most of our mainline battle mages. It's a pretty gross little one. You get 5 of them, range 30 plus, 25 plus blunt magic damage that sets people on fire. That's pretty spooky. And you could go up to Magma Eruption relatively easily with a little communion. Area of effect 6 plus and leaves a cloud of heat behind. We also could, of course, do Gifts from Heaven if we wanted to go that route. So quite a bit of magic, but it's really, really focused in on fire and astral for the most part. Not a ton of variety. We do have some low-level death. We do have some low-level water or nature, but they're not really going to be the focus for you. All right, let's bring all that together. Ind is a very interesting nation that has pretty spammable human sacreds that are decent, but nothing to write home about. And outside of our capital, we're very terrain dependent on what we're going to be able to recruit. From those, we have some pretty mediocre to some all right troops. So you're going to see a lot of variety in Ind armies. For mage support, we are not very wide, but we're pretty decent at what we do. Getting things out like Twist Fate and Body Ethereal is pretty easy for us. We could get the attack buffs out pretty easy. We can do some pretty decent AoE spells, but we're going to be pretty limited because our cap-only mages are our main battle mages. Unless we have the Femini recruits, our other ones leave a lot to be desired. So our magic isn't actually the best. So we're a nation that's going to want to get out there and build strategic forts wherever there's good recruitment for us. We're also pretty interested because we have lots and lots of human sacreds in getting buffs from different thrones. In this game, I didn't play this one out because I was mainly just looking for these forts. But my other one, I had, I think, Dark Vision and plus Strength. Any of those type of things are going to be really nice because you're generally speaking going to be recruiting 9 to 10 sacreds every single turn in your capital. So you're going to get a lot of use out of that. Conversely, that also means Amazon indies are really nice because they have sacred troops, whether it's the Pegasus, the Riders, etc., etc. All those are things I would try to probably put a fort on if I at all possibly could. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Pretenders. Pretenders and Scales. As mentioned in the intro, we actually have a lot of Scales things going on here. We have a Turmoil limit of +1, a Heat limit +1, a Magic limit +1, and we also get +2 bless points. So just keep that in mind when we're looking at these. One thing I think we want to avoid is order. Our capital is order 3. Everywhere else is something else. And I think we want to use that increased turmoil to be able to get more pretender points out for our design. We could use some production, especially for our Femine, our Lady Knights, and our Oriande Knights. But beyond those two, we don't need a ton. So if you can't do it, or even maybe just a little bit of sloth would be okay. Just know that you're going to kind of limit those heavier troops if you go that route. So generally speaking, I'm going to be avoiding order type things. So unfortunately, Divine Glyph, who otherwise is a chassis I absolutely love, I don't love him because of that order here, unfortunately. Same thing with like the Monument or some of these other Titans. For Scales, I think we are looking at, I'm just going to grab a random person. Baseline, I think we're going something like this. So Turmoil 3, Heat 3, Magic 3. And of course, you can do this to taste. Like this is going to cause some heat death, so you could totally go down on that. We do like Heat 1, that is our neutral area. But this is a lot of free design points. You still get the Magic 3. You can go Protection or even a little Sloth pretty easily. You could get some extra Fortune since you are going to go very high on Turmoil. You could go with some Growth. That's going to help counteract the deaths from Heat. It also would help counteract any deaths that you're going to get from Unrest, from mobilizing heathens and or blood hunting. So I do think we have pretty flexible Scales. And remember, on top of that, we get +2 bless points. For whatever reason, we don't like any of those pitiful weak Dom 1 humans. Gross. So we actually start at Dom 2, and we have quite a few unique chassis here. We have the Nagasada, which is a Naga chassis. Should be noted here, new magic paths are only 20. Most of these monsters are like 40 or 80. So this is one that you can get other pathing on relatively cheap. Even the Master Lich here is 40. Ghost King is 20. 80 on the Sida. So something to think about there. The Sida can teleport anywhere. That's something vaguely interesting, although the magic path scale is not going to help us out. If you are wanting to do a dragon, I think you could easily take these here. I'm not the biggest dragon fan. I just don't think they do enough. Draco Lich, some people really like. Lich Queen, if you're going to go with a big Death Bless, maybe Fear or something, that could be relatively cheap for you there. We're going to take a look at a Phoenix build in a second. Muricolian, I think, is doable, although you're not going to get anything out of his turmoil scale. The Golden Lion, we're going to look at one of those. Celestial Lions, Man-Eaters, lots of good ones. And there's an argument to be made about an expanding Pretender. You need to beeline to certain types of terrain. It is really important for you to get those good spots, because if you're building in junky spots, you're not going to be able to get troops that you care about out of them. So I do think there's an argument to be made about an expander, although I don't think Ind requires it. You're going to take a good bless, and that's going to allow your sacreds to be able to at least expand all right. We do have Virtue. Some people swear by this chassis. I don't know. He always makes me very, very nervous. If I was going to take him, I would probably go something like this. We have 2 extra points. Maybe shock resist. Just something really, really cheap like this. What's that put me at? 152. And I would not start expanding until I had Mist Form. So you're going to research for personal Mist Form, and then you're going to research for Fire Shield, and then you're off and running with him. Before that, I think that's way, way, way too spooky. If you want to expand underwater, I do like the Worm. With a worm like this, I've shown things like this. We're probably looking at hard skin. Yeah, something like this. Take that down. Yeah, probably something like this. There we go, at 0. So he's going to have hard skin, and then what else could we give him? Unbreakable? Unbreakable would be interesting. That might keep him going longer. Whatever, you could do it to flavor. His main thing here is he's going to self-buff himself up. So that's going to put him at 21, and with self-buffs, you should be able to get to 25, 26, which is kind of the safety point for this type of chassis. He does have regenerate naturally, but we can also stack that with personal regen. And yeah, liquid body, quicken self, breath of winter. He's good to go. He can do some expansion for you. I don't love that for this nation, but he's usable. Up into the Titans. Again, I'm not in love with Titans. I do think the Great Archon is interesting in that he's an inspiring researcher and an Alchemist 100. That allows you to do alchemy spells more efficiently. Also of note, Knitter of Many Names. She has magic power, adept researcher plus 10, inspiring researcher plus 2. But her big thing is she's a Titan that only costs 20 for new paths. This was a chassis that I think you could consider ethereal on, or whatever else you're going to get. The new path here is not terrible. Because she is a adept researcher and an inspiring researcher, I would want her out awake. So that's going to be rather expensive. We're going to have to go way up here. What is this? We need 8 points. We have 1 point left over. That's not particularly useful. Something like that. We have 66 points left. In that case, I think I would go Death. This gives us Ether Gate. I do like Ether Warriors. That gives us something kind of to expand ourselves out into something different and unexpected. Probably drop like that. Something like that, maybe. We could definitely expand with Ethereal. Oh, and actually, that ended up giving us some bless points. We can get something better. With 3 points, can't get Spirit Sight, although that's probably unneeded. I don't know, just some Undying, let's say. Whatever it's going to be. This is mainly picked for the Ethereal and an Awake Researcher, essentially. She's going to have a ton of research with those high magic scales, and she's going to be inspiring your researchers in your capital. You could zip up to something relatively quickly with this. Beyond that, if you want to do Big Blood, I think Son of the Fallen might be interesting. Going up here, Baphomet is probably your best chassis option. Fire Astral Blood gives us all kinds of juicy things. We're going to look at a couple builds for him, so I'm going to skip him for now. As I said, I don't really like the order here, so unless you have something very specific in mind, I think we skip that one. Here's your Quickness chassis if you want to go Quickness. I don't think these troops are very good for Quickness, so I'm not in love with that one. Let's take a look at a couple I've made for Ind here. We have Sulian the Glorious. This is a very interesting bless. Very interesting. So he's awake, and he has Unbearable Splendor and Fire Shield. There is humongous amounts of synergy here. Unbearable Splendor means that anyone who attacks the bearer has to make an MR check or be permanently blinded. Unless you are in the like high mid-teens, sooner or later you're going to fail that check. And remember, we have magic 2 or 3, so in this case 2, so they're going to have a -1 to their magic resistance. They're going to immediately go blind. When you're blind, you get -9 to attack and defense. Why is that important? Fire shield. Remember, you get hit with the fire shield on attack, not on hit. So they're going to be swinging away at like 1, 2, 3 attack, not hitting your troops at all. And every time they swing, they're taking a 7 armor piercing fire hit from fire shield. This is surprisingly good. Even against a god, I had to fight a night serpent in this one. During the combat, he eventually failed one of those checks and he was blinded. And then every single guy around him had 100% hit. He was at 0 defense and we just stabbed him to death. It was pretty darn satisfying. We're at 8 fire, 6 astral, 5 blood. This is send horror as one of our in-game things, or big blood stuff. We can summon in devils or things like that. Big fire stuff. Do note, he is an immobile, so he's not going anywhere. But if somebody wants to come and attack your capital, this is going to be pretty hard to deal with. He can do really big fire stuff. This was a pretty fun blessing. Is it the best? Not really. I did have to fight Vanheim and Nabah in this game, and it was pretty funny to watch their high defense troops go down to like 3 defense when they were blind, and then die to fire shield. So that was something pretty interesting. In addition, because he's awake with high pathing, he actually has 43 research. I believe that's 45 once he has the magic scales. So he can actually zip your research along pretty darn nice. I think this is almost like a rush bless. You're going to research something for your mages to do. Body Ethereal, in all honesty, pairs in really well here. It'll keep your troops safe, giving your Unbearable Splendor time to proc and or your Fire Shield to do its work. Yeah, I think this is super interesting. We may play this on stream. Let me know of what you see here, or if you have something else more interesting, what you'd like to see god-wise for this stream, because it's going to be pretty cool. Next up, we have John. John is a variation of Dave the Lion. Dave the Lion is, I need an Awake Expander that has really good scales. John is, I'm the same thing, but I also need something because I have good Sacreds. What did he take? Righteous Wrath and Fire Resistance. Not a very big bless, but Righteous Wrath is really good on Sacreds who are going to be spammable and are going to die. They just are really good stat bump out of that. For him, his main thing is you need to hold off until you have personal regen. Once you have personal regen, you can do relatively easy provinces, and then that's at enchant 2. And then enchant 3, you get Fire Shield. So between personal regen, Fire Shield, Gift of the Hair, hold, attack is what I usually do with him. Be careful. You definitely don't want to fight things that have magic weapons because they can get through his invulnerability 25. But between the Fire Shield and the regen and fear, he's been fine. I often get wounds on him, which sucks. And this Dave the Lion, once he's ready to retire, he's not great. He's an inept smith, so he can't even make Thistle Mace. So he's not a very good crafter. He'll just be kind of a pretty mid caster in a mid game battle. You don't even get the auto bless because we auto bless naturally, so having your god present doesn't matter. But if you do want to go expander and still have an okay bless, he does it just fine. These scales are all right. I did actually go production on him. Why? Because John's idea is he's going to rush to the terrain where we want to build good forts. And if I'm building good forts, that probably means I'm going to need the resources to get crossbows or heavy infantry or knights out. So that extra production is for that. Otherwise, he also ends up with the good fortune and good magic. So we're counting on some events to take place and give us some good stuff. He's fine. In one of those test games you guys kept seeing, I was testing him out in addition to just getting the land I needed. And he was all right. It's a little less fun because the bless isn't crazy, but totally usable. Next up, we have Budget. Budget is a different Baphomet. He is really good. This is really good. Again, Awake. Less scales, as you can see here. You could go higher on the fire or lower on the growth and take some production if you're so inclined. He has 5 fire, 5 astral, and 4 blood. Again, you're looking at sending horrors with him, possibly. He can gate things around. He can teleport, of course. His main thing, though, is the bless. Magic weapons just ensures that no shenanigans can happen. Our sacreds will be able to get through anything that is negated by magic weapons. And then we have Blood Surge and Righteous Wrath. These combo together so well. You get +3 attack, +3 strength, +6 morale from Righteous Wrath. You get 3 attack, 3 strength, 1 defense, 1 reinvigoration. So you are looking at +6 attack. You're looking at +6 strength. Our broadswords that were, I believe they're 12 or 13 attack and 16 damage, now are looking at, let's go lowball that and say 18 attack and 22 damage. In addition, having some extra reinvigoration, having extra morale, having extra defense, it's pretty good. Now, and it goes either way. Either you're not losing anybody and you have Blood Surge up, or you lose somebody and you get Righteous Wrath, and then they're going to immediately proc your Blood Surge. So this is a pretty synergistic one. Very budget, in fact. And if you wanted to, you could even maybe make him dormant and add some other stuff to this. I think that would be totally fine. You could even go hard greed and add some other like enchanted blood, and I don't even know what else you'd do with that, but could be pretty good on that. Because they're just such high stat bonuses from this bless. He again will be able to do pretty good research and get research out for possibly an early war. Finally, just to throw something in there different, we have Skyfisher. Skyfisher is a Phoenix. Pretty cool chassis. His big thing is he has Fire Explosion on Death, Flying, of course, Heat Aura, Domain Immortality. If you die in your own domain, you come back in 1 month. So he's going to make it very difficult to attack into your dominion. And his main plan is he's going to do Wind Guide and Fire Arrows. So you're going to try to research up enchantment to enchant 5 ASAP. Once you'll either spend some gems and or you'll Phoenix power here for the Fire 5. So Wind Guide, Fire Arrows are his game plan. And for his Bless, he took Righteous Wrath just because it's so good on our Sacreds, and Air Shield. Air Shield is another one where we don't really have the best shields or the best armor on our Sacreds, and this will just keep us safe from friendly fire of our own arrows, frankly. Although, of course, it'll help against enemies too. So, again, just a kind of a really fun, different chassis. I always talk about this guy. I never run him, but I think this is totally valid. You have crossbows, you have longbows, you have several varieties of short bow, you have slings. In fact, I even skipped a couple Picone troops now that I think about it. We have some absolute garbage Picone troops. We have a slinger and like a farmer. So you have a lot of options for flaming arrows. Yeah, and he can help you out with that. I think he's all right. In conclusion, Ind is a very unique nation, having tons of human sacreds, hiding their own domain, having tons of both foreign recruitment and different recruitment based on the terrain that you have taken. So Ind is, you never know what you're going to get. In one of those test games, I just could not get the dogs. The AI just would not let me take mountains or highlands or caves. In my other game, I had everything available, but I had a much more compact starting location. So I think these guys are very, very fun. You never know what you're going to get. You have all the tools that you need. You just need time to bring them to bear. Priests are always good. I love being able to use Smite. Auto Bless is another very unique mechanic. And having some bonus Bless points with some relatively efficient Bless chassis means you can make all kinds of really, really cool Blesses. I didn't even do the crazier stuff like vampiric weapons, for example. or things like that. So let me know what you guys came up with for blesses. Let me know if one of the gods I showed off is most interesting to you. They're all really fun there, I will say. I really enjoyed those. Actually, using Unbearable Splendor was really nice. I can see why that's priced as it is, because it is ridiculously overpowered, being able to just straight up blind all kinds of different people. So very, very fun nation. I'm really looking forward to this one. Post your gods down below, because it's, again, having those bless points means people are going to come up with all kinds of crazy cool blesses, and I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. All right, well, remember to send a letter to your homebound giant friend. Let him know you still care and you wish he could travel. And I will see you guys on stream. Babble out.